Thank you so much for attending my presentation about the shocking rise of Delphox, and first let's talk about its traits. Delphox's stats are tuned heavily towards offense, having a good speed stat of 100 and a great special attack stat of 114. This is helped further by its stab combination of Psychic Fire covering each other very well. The Steel types that would normally own it are forced to respect possible flamethrowers, and most other Pokemon get hit for at least neutral damage. This is a big deal, letting it threaten a wide variety of common defensive mons. It even has some good ways to deal lots of damage. In terms of stab, it's obviously great with Psychic, Expanding Force, remember that one for later, Psyshock, Fire Blast, Flamethrower, and Heat Wave. It even has Nasty Plot, having the ability to boost up to obscene levels. However, in terms of coverage, it's a bit lacking. Sure, Focus Blast and Grass Knot are cool, but don't do all that much for Delphox. Now, before we get into what exactly it does in VGC right now, we have to take a quick detour and talk about Psyspam. This archetype focuses on one specific move, Expanding Force, and how it takes advantage of Psychic Terrain. It starts at a mediocre 80 base power, but when the user is in Psychic Terrain, it becomes both a spread move and gets a 1.5 times boost. This is already wild, but that's not including the additional 1.5 times boost that the terrain itself provides. With all this combined, Expanding Force can deal fucking absurd damage. Throughout the format, these teams have evolved, but the fundamental idea stayed the same. Indeed, he sets your terrain and pairs to the powerful attacker. These can notably either be Trick Room focused like Hatterene or fast like Iron Crown, but you might see a small problem with this. Iron Crown isn't legal in Regulation H, the current VGC format. With the ban of Paradox Pokemon, Future Cabalion has been left behind, and it turns out that when Crown ain't around, Delphox can actually carve out a place. Thus, with the addition of this new wild format, the Gen 6 starter can finally be strong in doubles. Delphox sets are largely what you'd expect, at least at first. Expanding Force is a must, and they all carry at least one fire-type move. This could be something a bit more volatile with Fire Blast, consistent with Flamethrower, or even a spread move with Heat Wave. Sometimes they even decide to run two, although this isn't super common. You also see Protect very often, allowing time for supportive teammates to hit the field or just stalling turns, but the final move slot is by far the most interesting and is a choice between two main options. Terrafighting Terra Blast is a really cool idea, helping on several fronts. Some of y'all might have noticed that one Pokemon absolutely fucks Delphox's shit up, Incineroar. With a very strong fire and dark type, it just doesn't die to anything. However, with this, you can hit it for a ton of damage. Plus, it keeps you safe against dangerous moves like Knockoff and Sucker Punch, especially from Kingambit. Nasty Plot is wild, boosting special attack by 2 stages. This has a lot of potential, dealing catastrophic levels of damage after just one boost. However, you become much worse against, oh, hey, it's Incineroar again. Considering how much it's used, being on about 1/3 of teams, that's not great. It is a viable idea though. Finally, for items, its most used by far is the Life Orb. This gives it another huge power jump but allows it to use Protect. What's not to love? Delphox's viability is really helped out by the format in more ways than Iron Crown's departure. The much lower power level is very nice. That 104 speed stat that's been somewhat shaky in past metagames, especially the recent Regulation G, becomes shockingly quick. You're straight up faster than a ton of stuff. Annihilate, dead. Garchomp gets owned. Goldengo, you wish. This kind of spread damage on a Pokemon that's this quick is rare to come by. Hell, even Hisui and Typhlosion is slower without a Scarf. Plus, there's a surprising lack of speed control that beats it. Tailwind is often set up manually by Pokemon that are naturally outrun by Delphox, and Trick Room obviously has to take a turn to set up, leaving them vulnerable. The teams it's run on make this even more apparent. Delphox fits best on quick hyper-offense cores that aim to overwhelm with damage. Whimsicott is a notably great partner, is the strongest offensive supporter of this format. With Tailwind, Helping Hand, and even Sunny Day, it's really good at enabling damaging threats in the back like Delphox. Outside of that, and of course the mandatory Indeedee, it's pretty varied. You aren't really locked into one specific build of 6, so feel free to experiment and make some weird shit up. Just yesterday, I got my ass kicked by a really cool Basket Legion Sneasler idea, and it was fucking awesome. This Pokemon is powerful with a lot of partners. At regionals, it's been a bit hit or miss. While at Baltimore, it would peak at a solid 18th with Ben Grismer, at Dortmund and Joinville, it unfortunately struggled. Don't count it out though, this thing is wild. In conclusion, for the first time ever, Delphox is actually strong in doubles. It took some help, like the advent of Indeedee in an unprecedented format change, but it finally putting in some work is awesome. Thank you so much for watching.